I booked a night out with my friends at a neighborhood bar where you can relax with a drink and not worry about anything. You'll head to the arena's rear club section as you get drunk. We found a great left-hand seat. Since I needed alcohol severely, my companion offered me a strong painkiller, which can help with anxiety but should never be taken with alcohol, while getting more drinks. I took a modest dose of this strong anesthetic anyhow. Something was wrong when I took a deep breath. My blood pressure dropped and peripheral vision darkened. Passed out suddenly. Although I was unconscious, my friends say I quickly collapsed from respiratory failure. Because I was instantly transported to another universe, I had no idea what was happening. I felt like I was flying between two massive columns that spanned for miles within this massive Colosseum. 1,000 stairs went to the Colosseum behind me. The Colosseum's stunning lighting was a pleasure, but nothing prepared me for the huge presence to my right. I'm not sure what my body was, but I felt like a beam of energy, part of this broader light. I felt a calming and powerful energy surge on my right. It was like someone was there, either my soul family, spirit guide, or higher self. The only reference I can think of to explain the Colosseum's brilliant brilliance is a rainbow, which we learn in science class. A bright, non-harmful light surrounded me. It was so big and comfortable I thought it was God or the universe. Since the Colosseum is made of this wonderful light, explaining it is difficult. Unlike Earth's infrared and ultraviolet light, this dimension's light must have been a rainbow of pink, purple, and every hue in between, like an oyster's pearl. This beautiful color evokes a peaceful, liquid-like feeling. Peace and love, some say it's like coming home, draw you into this watery flow of ease. These 4 beautiful energy beams welcomed me. They were ahead of me, yet the sense was strong. Only by sensing their vibration or frequency could I identify them without seeing their faces or ears. 2 newborn boys and a 3-year-old girl perished in the ward's prior weeks, making up the first 3 beams. Beyond telepathy, the talk was full with information and comprehension. Instead of talking, they focused on their journey. I understood their spiritual journey despite their brief earthly presence. I keep getting the impression they were telling me to let go. Why would they meet me given my short time on the ward? This message appeared important. The 4th energy beam was my best friend, who died 6 months before. We spoke in a different language, but I could tell it was him by his frequency. We knew each other on Earth and were close. He was an atheist, yet I still thought he was clever and inspiring. With these enormous energies, these 4 beams were simply the tip. Their scale, like cedar trees, was tremendous, and they seemed to emanate a deep unity that was hard to describe. Dreams fade, but the 16-year-old incident is still clear. I obsessively thought about this area for months. This stood out because of how it affected me emotionally, not the words. Light from behind me in the Colosseum connected us like strands of love. How this planet looked united by love and light is hard to describe. Next, my best friend revealed me our last Earth memory. I was privileged to be in his hospital room when Dad died. These interactions frequently happen alone. He wasn't ready to die when we talked in treatment weeks before his death. They masked his brain. Radiation couldn't be planned in time for his death. He had a terrific career and wanted to stay, so I understood why he wasn't ready to die. Being in that room made me furious he died. "Please just show me that you're okay," I shouted into the room's corners. From Brendan's perspective, I could picture myself dropping my head and yelling, "Please just show me that you're okay." I felt every emotion I typically would and his feelings as if I were seeing his death. I could see he was peaceful and ready to die. It felt like a retrospective, but I experienced a shared death experience. While there, I saw a vivid, perplexing memory. There is no sense of time up there, so everything happened at once, yet I'm describing it chronologically. I was only there for minutes or seconds, yet it felt like a lifetime to process all that information. I became acutely aware of "am I dead?" due to this self-perception. The idea of dying seemed extremely disturbing. I wondered, how did I die? Am I dead at the club? I still remember thinking, this wasn't ideal, without shame or remorse. I immediately thought about my parents and other relatives. I returned to Earth after seeing them sleeping in bed. I stepped out of that universe like a switch was flipped, briefly. I passed the bar and clubhouse on my way back. As I walked inside the bar, I noticed the wood's grain, cracks, and tree-like smell. When I returned to the club, no one was talking. My body was on the floor, but I didn't see it. I knew my mind would never return to that bodily body for inexplicable reasons. My thoughts felt so big it couldn't fit back into that tiny body. This was the scariest event. I was in that amazing zone recently, aware of my mortality but unconcerned. After returning to Earth, I was scared. My fear of never being able to return to my body remains with me after all these years. My intellect saw my body as even less important. I probably looked like my best friend and the kids with these energy surges. I hope that fits me. Since I was blind, you can only imagine how beautiful you seemed to me. It felt futile to examine my body. How am I going to transfer this awareness to that physical form? Asked. I was bouncing between the bar and the woods in my imagination. I could see the wood and bar grime again with precise accuracy. It was like a hand wave. I don't know how my awareness returned to my body, but it did. As this massive knowledge squeezed back into this tiny, insignificant body, a popping sound was heard. I was utterly absorbed by then. The entire club's soundtrack started playing suddenly. My friends smacked me hard when they tried to wake me up, hurting my face. I sat up and yelled, "I've seen Brendan." With my friends in security, I saw Brendan. Given that everyone knew Brendan died months previously, it must have been odd. Coming back was hard because of my absence. Even though I was only gone for a few minutes, it felt like an eternity. At least 3 weeks. I studied and understood much. I fought for a long time to understand the lack of time and my membership in this club. For months after the occurrence, I kept thinking about it. After this, I told my friends. Many people who knew what happened to me remain my pals. Despite working in healthcare for 20 years, even that is difficult to discuss with coworkers. People try to quiet you when they don't believe you. I'm not here to show off. I was changed forever by a miracle. My family and I were staunch atheists before our NDE. This encounter changed everything for me. I was forced to believe in God or the universe. It made me more spiritual, and knowing we have a spiritual family gives me strength. After all I've been through, I pray often and believe in prayer. Energy is interrelated, and our beliefs affect the planet. To avoid fights, be extremely cautious. The days and weeks after a fight can be chaotic. Just not worth it. Living in relative peace would be ideal. The power of prayer is so evident to me.